In March of 2022, residents of San Francisco could have been forgiven for thinking they'd stepped out of their front doors and into the future. Driverless taxis, once considered a far-off fantasy, became a common sight around the California city. It wasn't long before the robocars were quite literally running into problems, stirring up controversy and taking some people off. Some protesters dropped traffic cones over the automated car's sensors, and in one instance, a taxi was even set on fire and destroyed. The debate highlighted some essential questions. Are driverless cars safer than traditional ones? Who decides the priorities of the artificial intelligence behind the wheel? For example, should an automated car swerve to avoid a baby stroller and bump into a cyclist? As AI systems continue to evolve at a blazing pace, how do we make sure there are guardrails put in place for ethical and fair protections? But perhaps even more concerning, is it already too late? Welcome to Take on Fake. In this episode, we're going to be looking at some of the most important ethical questions surrounding artificial intelligence. What ethical standards should be written into AI systems, and who decides what those ethics are? The range of different concerns that experts have regarding the ethics of AI can be broken down into three main points. First, there's currently no oversight on how your data is mined and stored. Every photo that you upload, every comment you make on social media, and possibly every email you send has the potential to be scraped and stored to train AI systems. You may have heard about writers, artists, and other creatives fighting against AI-created work based on their intellectual property.
So data is being collected from this web browser as we speak. Data is collected every time you check your email, every time you're on your phone.
That's Dr. Rumman Chowdhury, a data and social scientist who's been building solutions in the field of responsible AI since 2017.
Even if you are not on your phone, but you are traveling with your phone somewhere, if you have any digital device that connects in some way to any sort of Bluetooth or internet, and you have it with you, there is data being collected about you.
AI systems mining our data without our consent brings us to the second major ethical dilemma of AI. AI systems can leverage personal data to create individualized algorithms that can be used to influence people on a very profound level. Algorithms can get to know you, your beliefs and biases, and potentially push mis- and disinformation to you that it suspects you specifically might fall for. And as we navigate another complex and impactful election year, this is obviously a major concern.
To you and me and somebody who doesn't, or to people who don't build AI systems, it may seem like useless data. Like, why do you need to know where my mouse is hovering on a screen? Why do you need to know my exact location at a particular point? Well, this is actually very valuable information because as we build predictive models, and that's what AI systems are, they are very sophisticated models that are making a prediction about something. A lot of them are being built to make a prediction about human behavior, specifically your behavior.
The third main point of concern has to do with biases, intentional or otherwise, that AI systems might have built into their algorithms. There are already many examples of AIs absorbing race, gender, age, and other biases that exist in the human world. For example, it's estimated that at least 3/4 of resumes submitted for job vacancies in the US are read by software to see if they should even be forwarded to a human being. Human biases embedded in an AI algorithm can lead to candidates being rejected based on details that have nothing to do with their qualifications, like the perceived gender or ethnicity based on what their name looks like. According to Rumman, bias is all down to how an AI sources the data it learns from, which, right now, is mainly the internet.
The internet is not actually a globally inclusive place. The internet is an overrepresentation of specific people from specific parts of the world who have perspectives on very specific things, right? We are not going to see a jute bag maker from a village in Bangladesh represented on the internet talking about what she does because this woman does not have access to the internet, is not digitally literate. So we need to be careful when we say AI models represent, quote, the world, because the world it is embodying is the world that is currently collected in data. And that's all we're seeing, the reflection of what is in the data.
Tech companies are currently in a race to see who can build bigger and better AIs. Conversational chatbots are one of the newer innovations in this technology. After OpenAI released ChatGPT in late 2022, Google shifted its corporate strategy, quickly releasing their own AI chatbot 4 months later. The speed at which these AI technologies are rolling out can make the systems prone to errors and susceptible to unintentional biases. This has led many people to start calling for laws and regulations to oversee AI technologies. This can take several different forms. The most obvious one is individual governments making laws that would apply inside their own regions. In summer of 2023 in New York City, a law went into effect where employers have to disclose to candidates if AI is used in their hiring process. They must also submit their systems for independent auditing. Other municipalities are expected to introduce similar laws. However, both AI critics and the tech industry have criticized the law. They say that it is unenforceable, doesn't go far enough in addressing all the systems where AI might be used, and that it's hard to guarantee how independent the audits actually are. What about other ways governments can regulate AI? Another option would be for different governments to come together and draw up treaties that address their common concerns. As of the time we're recording this video, the EU is putting together an AI Act that would regulate artificial intelligence to ensure better conditions for the development and use of this innovative technology. This would be the world's first comprehensive AI law. However, it will only apply to countries that are members of the European Union. The United Nations could also serve as an overall government body to create treaties for participating countries. But could countries come to an agreement on how AI laws are enacted and regulated? And if so, what enforcement mechanism would there be, if any? Another solution could be for the tech industry to regulate itself. But while there are cases where industry bodies have set effective rules of the road, there have also been several spectacular failures of self-regulation in the recent past.
How do we even wrap our heads around the idea of creating some regulatory environment?
Tackling the issues of emerging technology and its impact globally is not a new thing. Trying to resolve these issues of cross-border differences while also respecting national sovereignty, also not a new issue. So one is the IAEA, the way the International Atomic Energy Agencies work around the world. So this is an independent group of scientists who work with companies and governments in order to create standardization around how nuclear power plants are inspected, how emergencies are handled.
Let's pause here for a second and take a closer look at the IAEA and how it works. It stands for the International Atomic Energy Agency. This is an intergovernmental organization that promotes peaceful use of nuclear technology. It was founded back in the 1950s when many people were understandably concerned about the speed at which nuclear technologies were being developed and their potential for causing unimaginable levels of destruction. The idea was first floated by President Eisenhower in a 1953 speech at the UN General Assembly. He proposed an International Atomic Energy Agency that would promote the peaceful uses of nuclear energy for the benefit of all mankind. When the IAEA was initially created, 81 countries signed up to take part. It currently has more than 2,500 full-time staff members recruited from all areas of the nuclear energy industry. They work on a huge range of research and development projects involving nuclear energy, such as low-carbon energy and food security. Now, this sounds like a great way of tackling some of the geopolitical issues that might arise with AI oversight. Rumman has also outlined an example for the technology industry itself that could function as a framework.
The second model that I actually looked at was the Facebook Oversight Boards. Facebook, now Meta, funds an independent trust that essentially has set up this independent group of people from all around the world, and they're paid as if it's a full-time job, which is very important, by the way, because often these groups are voluntary, and frankly, a lot of people who are in poorer countries cannot afford to be part of it. They've created this independent body that essentially adjudicates on the takedown of content. They're fully transparent. They talk about all their decisions. Think of them almost as a Supreme Court for Facebook's takedown decision, so content takedown. Facebook cannot defy it. They have to do what this board says. It's a very fascinating construct.
As the potential problems are so varied, no one group is going to solve all the challenges of AI. For example, racial and gender bias in hiring is a different problem to address than, let's say, mis and disinformation and radicalization. There's going to be a completely different group of people that are best placed to address this. Let's take this example of hiring bias. You'd need a combination of industry bodies, lawmakers, and civil society organizations that focus on diversity in the workplace. The first question this group would need to ask is, do we actually need to use AI in hiring? I know when we post a job in our newsroom, it's not uncommon to get 1,000 resumes within a few hours. That's a lot of work for one person. So clearly there is a problem that AI can help solve. Next, the group would need to map out exactly where AI might be used in the hiring process and all the potential harms that might appear. Then they can figure out how to fit a human being in there to spot any bias. Lastly, there should be transparency on the whole process so that candidates themselves can report problems or push back on a decision.
We know that there is an answer that is a functioning ecosystem of civil society, policy, and industry. It's just about ensuring that the way policy is written is clear and reprioritizes towards the tasks that policy and civil society want to see. If we want to see more equitable tech, we have to put pressure.
Making sure that a wide variety of people have a say in how AI is run will bring a lot more benefits than just eliminating bias. It could let us, the public, have more conversations about how best to share the wealth it generates or how we could use it to solve our most pressing problems. We've mostly been talking about AI's potential for harm during this episode, but it's important to remember its potential for good as well. Remember those robo-taxis in San Francisco we talked about? Well, the silver lining after all that drama and all those stops and starts is that the robo-taxis are safer than ever. And by any measure, still safer than cars operated by humans. And here in 2024, fleets are rolling out to other cities around the US, starting with Austin and Phoenix. So the good news is that we already have models for the types of solutions we need to get a handle on the unbridled world of advancing AI technologies. It's just a matter of building on them. Until next time, I'm Hari Srinivasan, and this is Take on Fake.